Welcome back to our Moses series on fire and faithfulness. This is session 1, part 2. We're continuing on in Exodus chapter 1, verses 15 to 22 next, and I'll be reading from the NIV. Exodus 1:15. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, "When you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him. But if it is a girl, let her live." The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live. Then the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, "Why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live?" The midwives answered Pharaoh, "Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive." So God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased and became even more numerous. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: every Hebrew boy that is born, you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. So we see Pharaoh continues his assault on God's people, and God's people increase and become even more numerous. Evil cannot stop God, and God cares about his people. Now, all of us, all people, all humans, we are made in the image of God. And the image of God is both a status, but it's also a role. It's an office. It's a function. You could say we are imagers of God, those who do what God does. Now, Genesis 1, rewinding a little bit in the Bible, it tells us that God, the Creator, makes us in his image, calls us to do what he does, to create more people, to be fruitful and multiply. God, the Creator, creates humans and says, create more humans, because we are his imagers. We do what God does. To be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth as God's imagers on earth. And then we exercise dominion, because God is ruler of the universe. He says, you are to have dominion, you are to rule earth. Now, we've kind of messed that part up pretty badly, but that was our task as imagers of God. To raise and lead children to follow God is part of this role as well. And this was our first commission, which is repeated throughout the Bible. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. He gives that commission again to Noah. And this commission just go into the world, go into the world. We have that theme picked up in the Great Commission, right? Now, as you go into all the world, make disciples to all the different parts of the world. So God cares deeply about our job as imagers. And the original first part of this was to make more people. God values the creation of children. And one of Satan's greatest triumphs that we see here in Exodus and throughout human history, one of Satan's greatest triumphs is to get people to kill their children. To convince people to kill children. This is an anti-Great Commission, directly attacking our role as God's imagers. And this is what Satan gets Pharaoh to do here. Pharaoh is a man of strength, of power. He has a fire inside of him that drives him to accomplish his goals. He misuses his fire and his strength because his heart is hard, and his heart loves the wrong things. And ultimately, his hard heart is going to be his downfall, as we're going to see in future chapters of Exodus. So one of the questions we're asking as we're doing this study is, who are we? Well, we see that we are people that are valuable to God, all the way down to our helpless children, all the way down to babies who cannot fend for themselves, who contribute nothing to society. They matter to God because they are made in God's image. You matter to God because you are made in God's image, and God cares about the loss of human life. God cares about your life. Continuing on. Exodus 2 now. Exodus 2, verses 1 through 10, and I'm reading from the NIV. Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. And when she saw that he was a fine child, a beautiful child, some translations say, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. She placed the child in it, put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile, and his sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. So these Levites, and Levites are we see later on, the priestly line of God's people. They have a son. They attempt to rescue him in a way that reminds us of the flood, sailing over the water. It's a theme that we see picked up later on in the Bible as well, which would be a wonderful study to do in the future. And the mother just hopes and prays, God, can you do anything to spare my son? As she sends him away. So then verse 5, Pharaoh's daughter. Pharaoh's daughter went to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to go get it. She opened it and saw the baby, and he was crying. And she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. Now notice her heart is moved. Her heart's moved to help this child. Opposite of Pharaoh's hard heart. So then his sister, Moses' sister, who we later learn her name is Miriam, she asked Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, go, she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you. So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water, which is what Moses' name means. So we see people who have done their best to be faithful to God, and they receive God's unexpected blessing. We saw this earlier with the Hebrew midwives, who they receive families of their own. We see this with Moses' parents, who refuse to go along with evil laws and say, we don't know how God's going to come through for us. We might experience deep personal pain and loss, but we're going to love the things God loves. So they try to keep their son alive, even though it's against the law of the land here in this place. And God rewards that. Moses' mother receives him back and is paid to care for him. And then Moses is raised in the Pharaoh's household. So who is God? Well, he is a God who blesses personal faithfulness. He's a God who blesses personal faithfulness in a way that's often unexpected. And I think we know when we are being faithful if it's risky, if it costs us something, but we do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. The next question for us to think about, how have you seen faithfulness result in unexpected blessing from God? How have you seen faithfulness result in unexpected blessing from God? If you're doing this by yourself, take some time to journal. If you're doing this with a group, this would be a great place to pause and do some group discussion. And then you can join us for our final video, part 3.